After pretending to be blind, what the billionaires uncover will leave you speechless. Secret, deception, and a love story turned upside down. Stay with us because what he discovers will shatter everything you thought you knew about trust, loyalty, and doubt. You won't believe what happens next. The morning sun was just beginning to paint the sky orange and gold when Emeka Okafor stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Victoria Island mansion, sipping his coffee and watching Lagos come alive below him. At 35 years old, this man had built an empire that most people could only dream of. His tech company, Okafor Industries, was now the largest in West Africa, and his name carried weight in boardrooms from Lagos to London, from New York to Dubai. "Darling, breakfast is ready." Aduni's sweet voice floated up from the kitchen downstairs, followed by the gentle sound of her humming. One of those old Yoruba songs her grandmother used to sing. Even after 3 years of marriage, her voice still made his heart skip a beat. She was everything a man could want. Beautiful, intelligent, supportive, and most importantly, she had stood by him through the difficult early days when his business was just starting to take off. But as Emeka adjusted his Italian silk tie and prepared to head downstairs, something dark clouded his thoughts. Last week, at the exclusive country club in Ikoyi, he had overheard a conversation that had been haunting him ever since. "Ghoul, may I tell you something?" His business rival Mr. Adebayo had said while they were at the bar. "That your wife, she fine sha. But you think say it, see na you she love, Probek? Open your eyes. Ne your money. The woman they see, if tomorrow your money finish, she go disappear faster than Naple light." Another man had laughed and added, "Nay true oh. These women they know wettin. They sweet them. Rich man's wife today, poor man's headache tomorrow. That's how they be for this Lagos." Emeka had wanted to defend his wife immediately, but something made him pause. Was it possible? Could the woman who kissed him goodbye every morning, who massaged his shoulders after long days, the who had never asked him for anything extravagant, could she really be with him only for his money? Emeka, your food did get cold? Oh, Aduni called again, this time with a playful laugh in her voice. "I'm coming, my love," he responded, but his mind was already working on a plan. If Aduni truly loved him for who he was, then she would stay with him, even if he lost everything, even if he became helpless and dependent on her. But how could he test this without actually losing his fortune? That's when he remembered his friend, Dr. Kemi Adebayo, who worked at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. She owed him a favor. Posse, he had sponsored her medical research just 2 years ago. Maybe, just maybe, she could help him with this plan that was forming in his mind. As he walked down the marble staircase, the smell of plantain and eggs filling his nostrils, Emeka made a decision that would change everything. He was going to test his wife's love, and he prayed to God that she would pass the test. Because if she didn't, he wasn't sure his heart could survive the betrayal. 3 days later, the boardroom at Okafor Industries was buzzing with the usual Monday morning energy. The fluorescent lights cast their harsh glow on the polished conference table where 15 of Nigeria's top business executives sat waiting for Emeka's quarterly presentation. This was the meeting that would determine their expansion into the South African market to carts, a deal worth over 2 billion naira. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen," Emeka began, confidently clicking his remote to display the first slide. "As you can see from our projections..." Suddenly, he stopped mid-sentence. His hand flew to his eyes as if something had struck him. The remote clattered to the floor. "Wettin' day happen?" whispered one of the board members. Sir, Kiki, his loyal driver and assistant, who had been standing by the door, rushed forward immediately. "Okay, you date, all right?" But Emeka was stumbling now, his hands pressed firmly against his eyes, his face contorted in what appeared to be excruciating pain. I can't see. Everything is dark." His voice was filled with genuine-sounding panic that sent shockwaves through the room. The boardroom erupted into chaos. Chairs scraped against the floor as executives jumped to their feet. "Call an ambulance," someone shouted. "Get a doctor," screamed another. Mobile phones were whipped out. Emergency numbers dialed frantically. Cheke, who was the only person in the room who knew this, was all an elaborate performance. Played his part perfectly. "Olga, take em easy. Make we get you to hospital sharp." Sharp, he steadied Emeka's trembling form, noting how convincingly his boss was acting. The elevator chimed, and the clicking of high heels on marble announced Adani's arrival before anyone even saw her. She had been downstairs in the company's wellness center, attending a charity planning meeting, when someone called her with the emergency. "Emeka, Jesus Christ, Wheaton happened to my husband." Her voice cracked with what sounded like genuine terror as she pushed through the crowd of concerned executives. Her usually perfectly styled hair was slightly disheveled, and her elegant dress was wrinkled from running. Dr. Kemi arrived within 20 minutes, TAR's aka record time, in Lagos traffic, thanks to Emeka's connections. She had been briefed on her role the night before, though she had expressed serious doubts about the morality of this deception. "Let me examine him," she said, with professional authority. Gently moving Adani aside, she shone her medical flashlight into Emeka's eyes, checked his pulse, asked him a series of questions, while knowing exactly what she was going to diagnose. As they helped him toward the elevator, Emeka felt Aduni's hand slip into his. Her palm was warm but trembling, and she squeezed his fingers tightly. "I'm here, my love. I'm not going anywhere. Everything will be fine." Through his closed eyelids, he could sense her presence beside him, could smell her familiar perfume, mixed with the scent of fear-induced perspiration. Her voice, usually so calm and melodious, now carried a tremor that made his chest tighten with an emotion he hadn't expected. "Sak guilt. Madam, make you no worry," Chick whispered to her as they entered the elevator. "Olga no, strong man, he'll pull through." But as the elevator descended toward the parking garage, carrying them toward what would be the greatest test of their marriage, Emeka found himself wondering, was the tremor in Adani's voice caused by genuine love and fear for his well-being? Or was she already calculating how this sudden disability might affect her comfortable lifestyle? The test had begun, but already doubt was creeping into his heart like smoke under a door. The master bedroom had been transformed into something resembling a medical facility. Dark sunglasses covered Emeka's eyes. SCA2. Dr. Kemi had insisted they were necessary to protect his damaged retinas, so from any light that might cause further complications. The evening sun was setting outside their floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the room where medical equipment and bottles of prescribed medications now cluttered the bedside tables. "Quarterly reports show our South African expansion is ahead of schedule," Aduni read aloud, her voice steady. Despite the late hour, she had been sitting in that same chair beside his bed for the past 4 hours, reading through company documents, answering emails on his behalf, and handling business calls with a competence that surprised even him. It was past 9 p.m. now, and she hadn't complained once about being tired. The house staff, Ters, their cook cleaner, and gardener also, had all offered to help, but Adani had dismissed them gently but firmly. "Thank you, but I want to take care of my husband myself," she had told them. "My love, you don't have to read all of this tonight," Emeka said, adjusting his position on the bed. "The company can wait. You need to rest too." "Shh," she whispered, reaching over to touch his hand softly. "The company cannot wait. Your business partners are worried, and I need to make sure everything runs smoothly until you recover. Don't worry about me, Asadi. I'm fine." But just as she said those words, her phone began buzzing on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times. Each time, she ignored it, continuing to read the financial reports as if nothing was happening. But Emeka's hearing had become more acute. since losing his sight, and he could hear the phone vibrating against the wooden surface like an angry insect. "Denis, your phone is ringing," he pointed out. "I know, darling, it's probably nothing important. Let me finish this report first." But the phone kept buzzing. Fourth time, fifth time, sixth time. Finally, with a small sigh, Denis stood up. "Let me just check who this is. I'll be right back." Through his dark glasses, Emeka couldn't see anything, but his other senses were heightened. He heard her soft footsteps as she walked toward the balcony, heard the sliding door open, felt the slight breeze that entered the room when she stepped outside. From where he lay, he could hear her voice, but only fragments of the conversation drifted back to him through the night air. "I can't leave him now, and T needs me more than ever, and you have to understand the situation." His heart began to race. Who was she talking to? Why did she need to go outside to have this conversation? And, most importantly, what situation was she referring to? When she returned 5 minutes later, her voice was bright and cheerful again, as if the mysterious phone call had never happened. "Sorry about that, my love. Where were we?" Yes, the South African projections." But Emeka was no longer listening to the financial reports. His mind was focused on those whispered words he had caught. "I can't leave him now." Leave him? Was she planning to leave him? Had someone been advising her to abandon her newly blind husband? "Denis," he said, suddenly interrupting her reading. "Who was that on the phone?" There was a pause. Lasted just a split second, but long enough for him to notice. "Oh, that was just my sister. She was asking about your condition, wanting to know if we needed anything." Her explanation sounded reasonable, but something about the way she delivered it, the slight hesitation before she answered, made the first crack appear in his certainty about his wife's loyalty. As she continued reading the quarterly reports, in her steady, caring voice, Emeka found himself wondering, was this the same woman he had married 3 years ago, or was he finally seeing Pose, even through his fake blindness, who she really was? The next morning, Emeka woke up to the familiar sounds and smells of breakfast being prepared downstairs. The aroma of fried plantain, scrambled eggs, and freshly brewed coffee drifted up to their bedroom, making his stomach growl with hunger. His dark glasses sat on the nightstand beside him, and he could hear Denis moving around in the kitchen below, her slippers making soft sounds against the marble floor. Carefully, he swung his legs out of bed and began the slow process of navigating his way downstairs. Dr. Kemi had told him to act completely helpless, to make Denis believe he couldn't do anything without assistance. So he moved slowly, one hand trailing along the wall, the other stretched out in front of him, feeling for obstacles. But as he reached the top of the staircase, he heard Denis' voice floating up from the kitchen. Priest was talking to someone again? This time her voice carried a tone of urgency that made him freeze in place. "Gu, I know fit Durham again." Oh, she whispered into her phone, her usually proper English slipping into pidgin EOC, something that only happened when she was very emotional or stressed. "You no understand wetin I dey face for this house right now." Emeka's heart began to pound. This wasn't the gentle, caring woman who had been reading to him last night. This voice was frustrated, almost angry. "I don't tell, you say I. No fit leave him like this," she continued, her voice getting slightly louder. "The doctors no even know how long this blindness go last. Yes, I understand the implications, but I beg, give me small time to think." Implications? What implications? Emeka pressed himself against the wall, straining to hear more, but his movement must have made the floorboard creak, because suddenly, Denis' conversation stopped abruptly. "Make, I call you back," she whispered quickly, and he heard the sound of her phone snapping shut. Footsteps approached the bottom of the staircase. "Emeka, my darling, you day wake up. Why you come downstairs by yourself? You've recalled me." Her voice was now completely different, actually concerned, loving. The transformation was so complete, It made his skin crawl. "I was trying to come down for breakfast," he said, putting on his helpless act. "I wanted to surprise you, show you that I'm getting better at moving around." "Chai, you nearly give me heart attack," she exclaimed, hurrying up the stairs to take his arm. "Next time make you call me first, eh?" "I know one. Make you fall and hurt yourself. Come make, I help you." As she guided him carefully down each step, her touch felt different now. Assez mechanical, dutiful, like someone performing a rehearsed role. The warmth he thought he had felt the day before seemed to have evaporated. "Morning mist." "Oh, you been day top two for kitchen?" he asked casually as they reached the dining room. Again, that tiny pause. "Nah, my friend Kemi," she replied smoothly, settling him into his chair. "She dey ask about your condition. You know how people they worry when they hear say something happened to you." But Emeka knew she was lying. The voice on the phone had been masculine. Ase definitely a man, not her friend Kemi. And what had she meant by implications? What was she supposed to give someone time to think about? "Morning, darling," she said brightly, kissing his forehead. "I don't make your favorite plantain and eggs with coffee, the way you like am." As she served him breakfast, chattering about the beautiful weather and her plans to call the specialist from London, Emeka found himself studying every word, every tone, every gesture. Was she planning his care or planning to leave him? Was her cheerful morning conversation genuine concern, or was she buying time while she figured out how to abandon her blind husband? The woman sitting across from him looked and sounded exactly like his wife. But after that overheard phone call, Hay was no longer sure he knew who Adani really was. Living room, SO day, afternoon shadows, ceiling fan whirring softly. The afternoon heat was becoming unbearable. Even with the air conditioning running at full blast, Emeka sat in his favorite leather chair, pretending to listen to the news on television while his mind wandered to darker thoughts. 3 days had passed since his fate collapse, and Adani had not left his side for more than an hour at a time. She was either the most devoted wife in Lagos or the most cunning actress he had ever encountered. The sound of Chike's car pulling into the compound made his heart race. His loyal driver had promised to do some digging, some quiet investigations that might reveal the truth about his wife's recent activities. Emeka heard the front door open, followed by Aduni's cheerful voice greeting, "Chike." "Good afternoon, Kike. How are you today?" she called out. "Warmly fine, madam." "Ah, they greet you." Well, TK responded in his usual mix of English and Pidgin. "I can't see Oga. How am day today?" Emeka heard Aduni's footsteps approaching. "Is doing better today." "Thank God," the doctor said. "His hearing has become sharper since the incident." Her voice carried a note of sadness that sounded genuine. But Emeka had learned not to trust his first impressions. "Any Morioga." "Good afternoon, sir," Kike announced as he entered the living room. "I bring some documents from the office, and I need update you on some important matters." Emeka nodded slowly, playing his part. "Thank you, Chike, my dear. Could you please get her some drinks? This heat is killing me." "Of course, my love. I'll bring some cold water and maybe some fruit," she replied, her voice filled with concern. "Make sure you don't strain yourself too much with business matters, okay?" As soon as her footsteps faded toward the kitchen, Kike moved closer to Emeka's chair. His voice dropped to an urgent whisper that sent chills down Emeka's spine. "Sir, I get bad news for you. Very bad news." Kike paused as if gathering courage. "Madam, don't they meet with lawyers? Divorce lawyers specifically, not serious people. She they see those expensive ones for Victoria Island." Emeka's heart sank like a stone thrown into deep water. His worst fears were beginning to materialize before his very eyes. The woman he had loved and trusted for 3 years, and the woman he had built his world around, was apparently planning to abandon him in his moment of greatest need. "You sure about this information?" Emeka whispered back, his voice barely audible above the humming of the ceiling fan. "Sir, I follow her yesterday. When she say she dey go market instead, she enter one big law firm for Amadou Bellaway. I wait for Am outside, and when she come out, her eyes been red like say she don't cry. She make phone call immediately. But I no fit here wettin', she dey top the sound of a dunny, as approaching footsteps made both men fall silent. Immediately, she entered, carrying a tray with ice-cold water, sliced oranges, and some biscuits. Her smile was radiant, but now Emika saw something different in it. There's something that felt calculated and rehearsed. Here we are, she announced cheerfully, setting the tray on the side table. Kike, please make sure he doesn't overwork himself today. You know how stubborn he can be when it comes to business. She moved behind Emika's chair and began massaging his shoulders gently. A touch, which had always brought him comfort, now felt different, cold and mechanical. Was this the same woman who used to massage his shoulders after long days at the office simply because she loved him, or had those gestures always been part of an elaborate performance? Don't worry, madam. I go make sure. Say Olga rest well, Taiki assured her, though his eyes avoided looking directly at her face. Good. I've arranged for a specialist from London to examine him next week, Adani announced, her voice filled with determination. Pie-tasted Dr. Richardson is supposed to be one of the best ophthalmologists in the world. Whatever it costs, we'll get you the best treatment available. My darling, her words should have filled Emeka with hope and gratitude. A wife willing to spend any amount to restore her husband's sight. That was the stuff of romantic movies and love songs. But Chike's revelation had painted these generous words in sinister light. Was she genuinely trying to help him, or was she simply trying to speed up his recovery so she could leave him with a clear conscience? Thank you, my love, Emeka managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. He hoped she would mistake for gratitude rather than heartbreak. You're taking such good care of me. I don't know what I would do without you. Aduni leaned down and kissed the top of his head tenderly. You don't have to worry about that, Emeka. You'll never have to find out what life is like without me. But even as she spoke these reassuring words, Emeka couldn't shake the feeling that she was making a promise she had no intention of keeping. The loving wife and the scheming woman planning his abandonment seemed to exist in the same body, and he no longer knew which one was realist. The afternoon wore on, and Chike prepared to leave. The weight of deception, Ella both his own and apparently hers, Ella pressed down on Emeka like the humid Legos air. The test he had designed to reveal the truth about his wife's love was revealing truths he wasn't sure he was prepared to face. Dr. Kemi's clinic, icy sterile white walls, antiseptic smell the next morning. Adani insisted on taking Emeka to Dr. Kemi's clinic for his regular checkup. As they sat in the waiting room, Emeka could hear other patients whispering about his condition. To Billionaire, Whaley blind. One voice murmured, Kai money no fit buy everything. Okafor. Please come in, doctor. Kemi's voice interrupted his thoughts inside the examination room. Dr. Kemi went through the motions of checking his eyes, shining lights that he pretended not to see. The charade felt heavier each day, especially with Aduni holding his hand so tenderly throughout the examination. Aduni, can you step out for a moment? I need to discuss some technical details with your husband, Doctor. Kemi requested as. Soon as the door clicked shut, Dr. Kemi leaned close, her voice urgent and troubled. Emeka, I must tell you something about Aduni. Yesterday she came to see me privately and the door suddenly opened. Cutting off whatever revelation Dr. Kemi was about to share, Aduni rushed back in, her face anxious. Sorry, I forgot my purse. Is everything okay? Dr. Kemi straightened quickly, her professional demeanor returning. Yes, we were just discussing treatment options. Doctor, please tell me honestly, Aduni said, gripping Emeka's hand so tightly, her nails dug into his palm. Is there any hope, any chance at all that his sight might return? Her voice cracked with what sounded like genuine desperation. Emeka felt her hand trembling against his, and for a moment his doubts wavered. Could someone fake such raw emotion, Dr. Kemi hesitated, glancing between them. We need to discuss all possibilities. Perhaps we should schedule another appointment to talk about comprehensive treatment. Options the wait, of unspoken truths filled the small room like thick smoke. What had Adani told Dr. Kemi in their private meeting? And why did his friend look so troubled when she looked at his wife, cliffhanger? What shocking secret did Adani confess to Dr. Kemi? Distant Lagos traffic, humming sleep, had become Emeka's enemy these past few days, his mind racing with questions that had no answers. Tonight was no different. The clock showed 11:30 p.m. when he quietly made his way to the garden patio, using the familiar path he had memorized during his fake blindness. The cool evening breeze carried the distant sounds of Lagos, nightlife generators humming. Night traders calling out their wares settled into the wicker chair, pretending to doze when he heard Adani's phone buzzing from inside the house. Her footsteps moved quickly across the marble floor. Then her voice drifted through the open sliding doors. "Hello? Yes, it's me," she whispered, clearly thinking he was fast asleep. Inside, Emeka held his breath, straining to catch every word as she stepped further into the garden, away from the house. "No, we can't wait any longer." Her voice was fierce now, filled with an urgency that made his blood run cold. "He's vulnerable now, completely dependent on me. This is our chance, SOAA, the perfect opportunity we've been waiting for." His heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. Every suspicion, every doubt was crystallizing into horrible reality. Kike had been right about the lawyers, and now here was Aduni plotting in the darkness while he sat mere meters away. "Make sure everything's ready by tomorrow evening," she continued, her voice dropping even lower. "Once we execute the plan, there's no going back, no room for second thoughts or regrets." The phone call seemed to drag on forever, each whispered word driving another nail into the coffin of their marriage. Emeka felt sick to his stomach, the evening air suddenly feeling suffocating despite the breeze. "Yes, I understand the risks," Adani was saying now, "but he trusts me completely, has no idea what's coming by this time. Tomorrow night, it'll all be over." The conversation ended abruptly with a sharp click, and Emeka heard her footsteps approaching. He quickly arranged himself to look like he was sleeping peacefully, evening breathing deep. And even as she drew near, "My poor darling," she murmured softly, and he felt her fingers gently brush his forehead. "You have no idea what to master bedroom. I see pre-dawn darkness, city lights twinkling out." Sighed the rooster from the compound next door had not even begun to crow when Emeka felt movement beside him in bed through half-closed eyelids. He watched Aduni slip quietly from under the covers, her silhouette barely visible in the pre-dawn darkness. The digital clock on the nightstand glowed 4:47. Amshe moved like a ghost around their bedroom, opening drawers with the careful precision of someone who didn't want to wake a sleeping person. Papers rustled softly near her dressing table, and he heard the unmistakable sound of her phone vibrating against the wooden surface. "Everything is set for tonight," she whispered into the phone, her back turned to the bed. "Yes, I've prepared everything he'll need. The documents are ready, the arrangements are in place." Emeka's heart pounded so loudly, he was certain she could hear it across the room. What documents? What arrangements? His mind raced through possibilities, each one worse than the last. "No, he doesn't suspect anything," Adani continued, glancing back at the bed to ensure he was still sleeping. "He trusts me completely. The poor man thinks I'm his devoted wife, taking care of him in his hour of need." A cruel irony in her voice cut through him like a sharp blade. Here he was, pretending to be blind to test her loyalty, while she was planning something that would destroy him. Entirely heard her moving toward the walk-in closet, and the sound of zippers being pulled made his blood freeze. Suitcases? She was packing suitcases at 5 in the morning. "By tonight, it'll all be over," she whispered into the phone again. 3 years of this marriage, 3 years of playing the perfect wifo seat. It ends today. When she thought he was in deep sleep, she approached the bed and sat gently beside him. Her fingers traced his face tenderly, and, for a moment, her voice broke with what sounded like genuine emotion. "So sorry, Emeka," she murmured, so softly he almost didn't catch the words. "I'm sorry. It had to come to this. You're a good man. But sometimes, good men get caught up in situations beyond their control. Her lips pressed against his forehead in what felt like a goodbye kiss. Emeka had to fight every instinct not to grab her wrist and demand, "Answer, what is Aduni apologizing for? And why does tonight mark the end of everything?" What do you think Aduni is really planning? Is this the end of everything? Or is there more to her apology? Let me know in the comment. Stay tuned and thank you for watching. Tap like, share, caps, and hit that subscription button to be the first to be notified. See you soon.